All right, welcome to the Best Damn Arm Wrestling Sports Show. I'm Doug Erlich, the best arm wrestler in the United States under 180 pounds.
Yes, sir. And we got the hosts, Reza and Scott. And essentially, what's going on, Doug? I hear there's a bunch of hype surrounding your name right now, bro.
A little bit. I mean, I've been in this shit for 15 years, man, and I had a 3.5 year layoff in between 2019 and 2023, and during that time there was a big social media boom for arm wrestling. It just blew up. Everybody started getting a lot of followers and fans. I mean, it's kind of odd to see so many fans in this sport now. Most of the fans were just arm wrestlers, or they were the fans of the elite arm wrestlers were amateur arm wrestlers. Now there's actually fans, guys that follow this and don't even arm wrestle. So, and that aren't family members. Most of them were just my friends or family members that would follow it. Now there's actually people, trolls. We got trolls and shit in this sport now. So I don't feel like, it's a lot's going on. The sport has gotten so much bigger that any little drama, there's 27 podcasts. Guys are in the sport for 2 weeks and they start a podcast nowadays. Man, every little thing there is to grab onto, they grab onto it.
Yeah, now recently you've been pulling again, I guess, or you've been pulling throughout the whole duration that you took a break, or how's training been going essentially?
Well, I tore my pronator against Tony. And after that, I didn't rehab properly, didn't get surgery. It took a year and a half before I could even really do anything in the gym with that arm or anything. So that partly kept me out. Yeah, this was a bad weight cut for me. I made 165 for this.
Yeah.
As you can see, how I didn't put water back on. Like I tried, but I was 8 pounds over the morning of weigh-ins. And so I got up at 5 a.m. and it took me like 5 hours to cut that water in the sauna. And that position right there, I felt like I was I had a terrible strap. And Tony's very good in the straps and with that move. And that right there is when it happened. And I was dry as shit, man. My body couldn't keep the water on. My pee still looked like sweet tea at that point,
You see you looking at your pronator, looking at the inside of the elbow there. Definitely looked like he knew you took some kind of damage right there.
Yeah, we even talked during the match where you can't hear on the mic mostly, but he was like, "Do you just want to lay down?" And I was like, "No, fuck it, beat me," you know. And I actually match two, I even got to stop. Like he went full speed. You can actually see it. There's a split in my pronator. My pronator is like just perfectly round, but now even permanently. And then here's Rob pressing on it. I'm like, he's like,
Don't
"Does this
touch my
hurt?" I'm
shit.
like, he's like, "Does this hurt?" I'm like, "Yeah." So yeah, it's like round, like a little golf ball, but now there's a split in it.
Also,
But
you have like the ripples like that. Like mine did do that shit too, where as you can see, it has like multiple fucking rivets in it.
yeah, this now has it looks like a hot dog bun almost, like split down the middle. So it maybe not have been this round. It wasn't this round. Third round, no straps. I was able to still stop the match, but like I said, I stopped it here too. I mean, he's going. I see how dry I am.
Yeah,
I
you're
could
shredded
not
as
get
fuck, bro. You look like you're ready to fucking compete in a competition for fucking bodybuilding, bro. I mean, you're
It
ripping.
was the first time second time I'd make 165, and
That's
because I had to cut so much water the morning of weigh-ins, I didn't have time and couldn't find like anywhere to go get an IV or anything like that just to like get the water back. I could not. My body wasn't keeping the water on. I've weight cut it. I've done many weight cuts and tons of water cuts. Um, that this was the only time I was never really able to be a sponge and get it back on.
you had
But
proper notice. You had proper notice for that match too. It wasn't something that like it was a last minute notice, or was it something?
I only had like 6 weeks, I'd say.
Okay, so it was
Um,
short notice.
because I was supposed to pull Mendagas at Wall is when Neil called me and offered me Mendagas, and then that all fell through. and I kind of got out of it. I was like, the whole WAL thing started falling, like seeming like it was going to fall apart. And I was like, man, this was the biggest thing. I held off on the WAL stuff for the UAL in the beginning. So I missed like the first like year of it. And then, cause Robert kept saying there was big things coming, but we're still here, people were.
How did the East versus West thing kind of come about? What made you want to pull Coach Ray, for example?
Oh man, I can't. So I don't remember how the Ray thing. I think I just started talking shit to him. We were. I was just coming back. I was like, okay, I want to come back, and started getting out of some of the stuff I had going on in my personal life. Arm started feeling strong again. Elbow was healthy. So I had about 8 weeks. I think he told me in November that we were going to have the match, and then Ray was a staple in, he's a staple with East vs West. So he's going to compete in East vs West. He'll continue to compete in East vs West, but he's also an announcer and commentator.
He's a little guy here. He looks little here, man. Like I don't think I've ever seen this match, but he's definitely not. He's a lot bigger now than he is here.
No, he's 180. He's 187 here. We both actually weighed in at exactly 84.9 kg.
It looks like Daniel almost. Daniel.
He's just so short, man. He's like 5'6", 5'7",
Yeah, he is short.
He's thick. His hand was actually a lot bigger than I thought.
That's crazy. Just simply comparing your arm in those two matches from 165 going up to that 187, it's like substantial. You can see that you're holding water there. You look healthier. I mean, you look like Skeletor in that last match with Tony, bro. Like, fuck. I mean, every muscle was fucking protruding in your arm.
Yeah, it was bad. And it didn't help that, like I said, I just could not get the water back on. And I did too big of a water. I did a 20-pound water cut, and in about 24 hours.
Damn.
So it was a little over 24 hours. I started the cut the day before, probably about 36 hours out.
I remember.
So here, this match right here, he actually is in. I countered what he was doing. So in that first one, I just took hand control and like top rolled him. And there, he tried to chop down on my wrist. So I went away from the pad. I went towards my own pin pad zone to give him a little rope to hang himself. I felt it in the setup what he was going to do. So he dives at me here. So I went away and I went towards my pin pad a little bit, back right corner of the pad.
Yep.
Yeah, it's like a low hand top roll.
Yeah,
it's good.
And it was a low hand top roll, but like with mine, I do kind of like I keep the bottom finger containment, like so I can control his pronator a lot more and try to turn the palm over. So I'm like cupping at the same time.
Yeah, I like that.
It's kind of my go-to. It's like for hookers, it's like it's the worst thing you want to go up against. Like as a hooker, you want to go up against another hooker or a posting style top roller where you can shut their pronation down, turn them in. But that like low hand here was just kind of that he stopped me. So the plan was to drop to my tricep, and I was tried to toy with him right there. I almost screwed up. He elbow fouled, but I tried to toy with him right there and dropped to my tricep, and I was going to do a can opener, and my plan was to yell, "Opa!" like they yell. And then he stopped me. So I was like, all right, I can't fuck around no more. So I just hit him straight to the pad.
Yeah, it definitely looks like you had complete control through the wrist and hand here. I mean,
yeah, and afterwards he talked about, potentially like I should have went to the straps. There was no getting to the straps. I had a death lock on his thumb. Like
yeah, you didn't need it, man.
Near the end, he was catching on to your style, and you see that you're not able to engage as much pronation through his wrist as you did in that first match. So the first match, you essentially caught him completely, it feels like, off guard. The second match, you were able to still control through the same vectors, but the third match, it really seems like he was catching on. He just wasn't able to implement his technique.
Right.
So, yeah, that was a good match. I mean,
the thing is about Ray is like, I don't feel like he gets enough respect. Like so like the guy goes and beats Tom Holland, John Tyrion, Christo, all these guys. I think he's even beat Stoica. I don't know. I know he's beat all, like at Arm Wars. He just goes through all these guys, and then other organizations and stuff. He goes through them. I mean, Bowen's no superstar, but he smacks Bowen like a little girl. And then when I go beat him, they're like, "Who have you beat besides Coach Ray?" I'm like, "Who has Coach Ray lost to other than me and Ingen in the last 2 years, 3 years? No one." Like it maybe in some tournaments he's taken a couple L's, but in a super match he has not lost to anyone in
Now,
the last 3 years.
if you were to compare Daniel to Coach Ray, what was the differences there? Obviously, Daniel's like a supreme athlete, you know.
It's not a comparison. Daniel is pound for pound one of the best in the world. So I agreed to go to the straps with Daniel before the match, by the way. So if you can see how he's turned under me, if you go back, he was just so much smarter than me in this. Now after this match, he came up to me and was like, I couldn't just pull through you. He's like, he does this like stoic face to make every match like look easy, even if he's struggling. But as you can see, he can't go sideways right now. We're stuck. And now as he tries to go sideways and open me up a little bit, you can see the strain on his face. And it's not, and to see any bit of strain on Daniel's face is like, because the dude never shows emotion, even when he's struggling. I never should have agreed to go to the straps with him. But the way he sets up is underneath. So right here, I actually took his hand and made him run. Like he wasn't able to keep. He tried to match.
You even see him saying, he's like, strap, like.
he tried to match me up top, outside the straps, and he couldn't. But right here, watch him. Well, that bottom, that pinky, you see it?
I feel
go
like
back.
That's why I'm going back. I don't feel like you should have compromised with his setup, because he was like literally just.
He's like this.
Completely inside on this fucking setup, bro. You see it right above.
His wrist is flat.
There, he's already turning. Right there, he's already got his pinky in, and he's
underneath
me. Match, yeah, it's his match at that point.
Yep, and he's underneath me, and he's right on that elbow. His elbow is like steel, dude. Like I'm serious. His elbow is like fucking steel. The pain in my elbow in this right now. I'm actually talking to him and you can't hear it, but I'm telling him, go ahead and pin me. Like the pain. I actually, prior to this match, I overtrained. I was doing like 155-pound dumbbells on a preacher curl with one arm. I was just overtraining, beyond overtraining, which is the approach I've taken differently nowadays, is to just be healthier going into a match. But I actually sprained my UCL prior to this match.
That's crazy, because you see him actually pronating through you. He's known for hooking.
Well,
you see him kind of
right here,
2 little reps right there, and obviously you're injured at that point, more than likely from multiple pins. But why did he do that?
Well, I'll tell you what happened right here. Because the reason why it looks like he's like opening me up or toying with me is because I thought I let my wrist go because I was thinking about diving in for a press and like changed my mind. There was no way, because I was
behind it. Yeah, you're already out of position.
I was going to end up with a terrible injury if I did that at that point. So it looked like that, like he was doing this, but he wasn't. I was actually letting it go so that I could like try and get behind it. And then I brought it back, and then he started going. Then he started doing it. So me and him have talked a lot about that match, and I told him by the end of next year I want a rematch. But
now you've. I guess, between me and you said that you feel Jeff Hell is very similar to this guy that, obviously you two are kind of like
Hunter.
Events, yeah, Hunter, and essentially
the redneck leprechaun.
Well, I'm not going to say anything negative about anybody, but that's your perspective of it. But I mean, I found a little snippet, because there's really no footage of your full match against Jeff, but there is a short. And let's see if we can analyze this a little bit here.
So I gave him a little misdirection here. He felt like it was going inside, and I hit more into like a high hook, and it just negated his bottom fingers. But it was a wall all 5 rounds. We pulled 5 rounds, and that was so. As soon as he hits, it stops. He's not able to turn it in. But him and Hunter have a very similar style. They're both similar heights, similar builds.
Now,
I think
Jeff, what did Jeff weigh and what did you weigh in that match at UAL?
180 something, and he was somewhere around 180 because they were pulling 180-pound catch weight round robin or something at Arm Wars that he was preparing for like within the next like 2 months. It was him, I think Craig Sanders and maybe Giannis and someone else or something.
Now, stylistically, you feel your style essentially, Hunter's style essentially complements your style.
Yeah, I think I'm a terrible matchup for him. I'm not the only one who says that. I'm not going to put the names out there, but I mean, there's like guys that are heavily involved, like know him very well, and know the sport very well. And it's just like our styles. Now, I mean, even worst case scenario, it goes frame, we go inside and it's frame on frame. I mean, this dude's going to have to be really fucking strong, man. Like, I know his hand's not big.
He's a beast inside. I mean, that's the way I see it. If you go outside and you get his hand, I think you're going to win the match. But if you can't get his hand and he gets you turned in, he's pretty freaking strong, man. He's like a wall. So I don't know, I know you're strong inside too, but I think you're better off going outside, getting control of the hand, flattening him out even is going to be a good position. But if he gets turned in, he stays in tight, I think he might lock in there. It's going to be a war.
I think that's where experience is going to come into play a lot. So, all this shit that he does, I've watched his videos with these refs that organizations that are not super strict on reffing and whatnot. And he gets up there and he's all in here and this arm is knifed in this way. And look, there's no way we're not ending up in a ref script where he's like this and not like this. It's just no way. Like it's going to happen. We're going to a ref script. I don't care if he watches this or not. I'll tell you right now, Hunter, you're going straight to a ref script.
Now,
we're not starting like this. We're not doing this bullshit.
When you pulled Daniel, were you going into ref scripts or were you allowing a free setup?
We went into those were ref scripts. They were closing our hands. But the problem is the difference is what he was allowed to get away with. I'm not saying it would have changed the match. I do feel like round 2 kind of exposed a little bit of what it would have been without the being able to carve underneath, because what he does very well, because he has such a strong elbow, is that he gets underneath like this. So when you go to top roll, even if you get him over here, he's already here. He's sunk in here. He's fine with this and getting all that pressure.
It almost looks like he folds the hand in the setup instead of keeping the hand straight. And you might want to, against pulling a hook, talk about opening the hand. And I do that as a ref, and I noticed that a lot of refs don't do that, but a lot of athletes still kind of fold the hand.
So the
hook.
The difference with Daniel being a hooker versus an offensive hooker, Daniel's a defensive hooker. Daniel is a defensive wedge hooker on his elbow. It's not so much that the guy is so unbelievably strong. He just gets his body into a position that it's extremely hard to pull through his joints.
Planting the weight down on his elbow and essentially leverage locking you through that.
He's buried. And even when you see guys like Mendogas get his hand, I mean, it takes forever to get this guy to his side of the table. His hook is very defensive, and he has his B side, middle to his side of the pad hook is extremely tough, and it's hard to get it to the level he's at. I know how hard it is to be at that level of being able to hold that where he's at. Now, I know great hookers that are extremely fast off, like Craig Tullier, which Scott, I never said I was the best under 200 pounds ever. And if there's anywhere I've ever said it in writing, please screenshot it to me. I'll send you $1,000. I've never fucking said it. But I do think Craig is the best under 200, and Craig is a very offensive hooker. But if you get Craig over here, his holding power in that position is Craig's better over here than Daniel is, but Daniel's better over here. So they have such different styles, and a guy like Hunter more is on the offensive side. We've never seen him have to be on that defensive hook, really. He's quick. He likes to chop into their forearm, put them on their bicep, turn their palm over.
Yeah, Daniel anchors in on his elbow. Craig floats on his elbow. Like Craig doesn't put much pressure on his elbow, where Daniel, he uses like for myself, I anchor off my elbow constantly. That's most my leverage is penetrating through my elbow. So I don't float my elbow at all. Very rarely. It's only for movement to slide on the pad while I let up on my elbow.
In 15 years that I've been arm wrestling, I've elbow fouled one time.
That's what we're going to ask you too. So not to jump off course, but how did you get into arm wrestling?
When I started, I was 25. I was always good in bars. Like my buddies would find the biggest dude in there and say, I bet you can't beat my buddy for bar tabs. You know what I mean? And we would just win beer. That was the goal. And then I was like, man, I'm pretty decent at this. So I started looking it up online. I'd seen it on TV before. I'd seen Ron and Alan and John and Marcio and all them on ESPN, and I loved it. I looked it up and I found a tournament in North Georgia. It was in Dalton, Georgia. Ron Bath was running it, and he was the ref for all the pro matches. And I went up there and I won the tournament.
That was during the WAL qualifier days?
No, this was in 2009.
Oh, so before WAL.
Yeah, 2009. And 2010, I think, yeah.
So
2010.
Right around the beginning of UAL, essentially, because Muscle Beach, I think UAL was like July of 2010.
Yeah.
At the time, yeah.
So I went and won that tournament. I was like, I'm the fucking man. I knew it. I knew I was a pro at this shit. Little did I know there was no one there, because there was some other tournament going on that drew like all the good guys were at. I don't remember which one it was, but there was like nobody at my event. It was like I pulled a bunch of amateurs, and I went to another tournament, and I think I went like 1 and 2. I was like, something's fucking wrong, right? Like I said, this shit can't. There's no way. So I met a guy named Chad Wayner, and he's out in Utah. He trains with those guys out there. I cannot. Well, I wish I could remember he's the old school guy, man, that he used to train with. But anyway, so started training with him. He started teaching me some of the things I didn't realize, and then I found Ron, which was like an hour and a half for me. So I started going to Ron's every now and then. And then I never pulled an amateur class after that point, and I started winning tournaments. And but yeah, it was pretty. I was big though. I was big at that point. I was 220, 230, powerlifting, doing stuff like that. So as I started,
if you were to reflect on your time arm wrestling, who would your biggest wins be against?
Peter or David Barchowitz or whatever his name is from Poland. Bodan Ivanchenko from not Ivanchenko, something like that. He's from Ukraine.
Yeah, I know Bogdan.
And then I mean, I don't know. It's just
How about
guess
Americans?
Josh Bishop, when he was in his heyday, like he was a fucking monster. Hell, like a name that a lot of people don't really know unless you're down here in the South, because he doesn't travel too much. Like Josh Elliton. A lot of my bigger days, like when I was bigger, I was pulling guys like, the Rex Forbes and the Tim McPherson's and all those guys down here in the South. Oh, Nate Adams. I beat Nate Adams I was probably about 40 pounds lighter than him too. And people don't know Nate Adams. That's probably my biggest win. That dude is so fucking strong. He's very unknown, but
I know that.
Valentin Gospodinov, I pulled him in a super match in 2017, something like that, 17, 18. That was an easy 1-3-0. And then like Jeff Hale and Jake Smith when he was still good. That was really honestly, I think when he started getting out of it a little.
That was
after,
UAL. That match that you had with him was a UAL match.
Yeah, he was still that was coming off of like the previous year after he pulled Justin. Then and that's the reason why I like snatched his arm across the table, because he grabbed Justin's hat and threw it in the crowd, and the whole mess happened up on stage.
Yeah.
And the big fight, and
Yeah.
that shit was crazy. But I don't know. I mean, I've gotten some wins on a lot of these guys in tournaments, like left-handed when I beat Fraley when he was like number one at the time. So I mean, it's guys that are some of them are still around. Some of them are still competing and stuff. But like as far as like who's like Hunter's pulled, and there is a little track of we've never pulled the same guys except at practice. Like I pulled Dalton Duncan a couple weeks ago. I'm going to pull with him next weekend, and they've pulled each other. They've beat each other.
How do you fare against Dalton?
Well, he's a friend of mine.
Well,
so
being polite, obviously, naturally, there's going to be a variance in technique and ability. So
a large level gap.
Okay.
Large level gap.
Yeah.
He's very good and he's climbing. And if he was more dedicated, he's got the build and the genetics for it. The frame, dude only weighs 172 pounds and he's like 6'3", and his arm is like this long.
Well, he's got the left. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a pretty big gap, and they've pulled each other, which is the reason why. He knows how I pull. He's not dumb. He gets it. And styles do make matches, but there's a reason why he bet Trent Johns $1,000. So, it's.
Do you think your match will take money, or is it going to be, if you were to pull Hunter, are you guys going to put money on the line for that match, or is it going to be just a match where you guys have a super match?
It's the East versus West, so we'll be paid anyway.
Okay.
But I am going to, at the press conference, tell him I want him to put his money up in front of everybody. So we're going to bet our money, just like I did Ray, and Ray never paid me. So this time I'm going to make sure that money goes into somebody else's hands first.
Well, I mean, if it's an East versus West, I think it should go into the promoter's hands and then be thrown on the table, and.
Well, Engen doesn't bet, and Engen won't be involved in any betting, so he will definitely pay the athletes first, and then it'll be up to them. If they make the decision to bet their own money, then he has nothing to do with it.
Personal, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so he doesn't gamble, but there is a little track record. So he just pulled Patrick Berg.
Actually, I have that match here right now. Let me pull that up so we can analyze it a little bit, because it was Pat's right hand, and I know Pat's left is substantially different than his right, but still a good win because Pat's been in the game for a minute.
Yeah, but even Patrick said after his injury, it's never been the same, and he knows where the level of his right arm is. Because I talked to Pat like 2 days ago, and like right here.
Oh, I went to something else. We'll go back to that.
Either way,
so straws now, Reza.
Yeah, I gotta keep the sponsors happy, bro. No, here it is right here.
Did it skip something? Did it
You
skip
can
the hit?
see Hunter relies on getting in there quick, getting that hook. Like that's
look
his
how
move.
far they are. Look how far they are on Hunter's side of the table. That's never happening with me. Like, look how off center they are before the go. Watch how much it goes to sit. That's never happening with me. I'm not letting that happen. I've been doing this too fucking long. Here it goes. It's like a whole 3 inches on his side of the peg.
It's hard to tell because the table is a little at an angle.
Little bit, but it's over there. As soon as he cups in, he doesn't pull him. He doesn't pull him. So as soon as they cup in, look
Yeah,
how far
well,
over he
Pat-
is. You can tell.
Yeah, Pat kind of set up like that in a sense too. It seemed like he was trying to give a little bit to try to get in his hook sooner.
Pat was
So-
set up a little. Pat was set up too high. He was trying to top roll in that match. I did talk to him about it. He was trying to top roll there, and he's posting
Was he?
style top roll. So he's gonna get Hunter's got a really good cup. So a posting style top roll doesn't really work very well against him. Like you can turn it in. He's going to be able to turn it in. He likes to chop down into his forearm.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, that's just. And I think Patrick's like a Abercrombie model or something too. So I'm not even sure it's not even the same as arm wrestling me. You know what I mean? Can't compare this.
You're more like a Vin Diesel.
Yeah, just a bigger asshole. So yeah, Patrick's pulled Ray. I've pulled Ray. Patrick's pulled Hunter. So he says Ray's stronger, Hunter's faster, which is clear. Those are two obvious things in my opinion. Now, like you don't just go pull. Another guy I think's very underrated, Tom Holland. The dude is a fucking beast, and Ray beat the dude. Ray beat him. You know what I mean?
Substantially a good arm wrestler. His bicep lock is ridiculous, bro.
Now I do think him and Craig match is a mismatch, but I think that's a little. Yeah. I think it's a big reach, But yeah, I think I do have a little bit of I got a lot more data than he does. I've pulled with Hunter. I've pulled with Dalton. I've got some data through a chain of people who's pulled who, guys that Justin has pulled with that have pulled Hunter. And I train with Justin regularly. And I know where I'm at with Justin. And like some of these guys he's having wars with that can't even move Justin off center, So I feel I've got a lot more data. Now, the fact is, what Hunter's going to say is, I don't give a fuck what these guys, who's pulled who or who's done what and who's done this and who, I get it. He's got to feel that way. You don't want to have some doubt, but I'm going to be the bigger guy. And if it takes me going inside with him because he's that quick or something and I can't do something with it, I'm going to put my frame on him. And I get it. Like they were online. Him and his little buddies are online, his Carolina Chaos crew, and talking like, oh, he pulls with guys bigger and stronger than you every week. Well, so do I. We all do.
If you had, let's say, 30 seconds to tell Hunter what you feel is going to happen in a super match with him, what would you say?
He's going to hit a fucking wall. It's not going to take 30 seconds for me to explain that. He's going to hit a wall. He's going to hit a wall. It's going to look a lot like that Jeff Hill match. He's going to hit a wall, and he's going to do everything he can to get out of that elbow foul to get a restart. And the next match is going to look the same way because he's one trick pony. He has no other moves. Hunter has no other moves. Dude, you have no other moves. I know you're watching this. I know you're not going to top roll with me. That's not even a fucking question. You're going to do your Chad Silver's trained, quick, snap hook, no load. First of all, when I told him you can't load with me, I was telling him I got something for you with that no load shit. I've dealt with it for years. Not worried about it.
It was rain of blood. From a lacerated sky, stab you in the eyes. Fuck with me, you guaranteed to die.